Hi, I'm Sonnett Shelline,
And I am Vickie Perez-Segovia.
and you're listening to Through Dangers Untold, a monthly art podcast about traversing the precarious gap between art school and a professional, sustainable art career. And Jess isn't with us tonight, but we will hopefully have her back next episode. So tonight, Vickie and I are talking about playing the long game and also kind of our yearly wrap-up. And so Vickie, we talked about wanting to talk about the difference between school expectations and kind of real life in terms of how long it takes to build an art career. And I'd love to hear your thoughts about that.
Yeah, that's definitely something that I think I've been reevaluating. Um, 'Cause I remember, like being in school, it's not that anyone ever told you that things were going to start right away.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like there were always moments where people were like, "Hey, if you try to do this one like thing and go at it really hard, like you have a really good chance of like launching yourself and kickstarting your career as soon as possible." And
Mm-hmm.
I feel like for me at least, I mean, I might have just been over optimistic or delusional, whatever the appropriate word is, but like I feel like those ideas like definitely got stuck in my head where I was like, okay, if I can just prove myself to like certain people, to the right people, it's gonna really get me far. And
Oh, yeah, yes.
and so I think the assumption is that things like that are going to get you far really fast. And I think we assume that because the people who are teaching us have like already had those experiences, and I think things always sound easier when they're being explained or like taught to you than when you're actually going through them, obviously. And so
Yes.
I feel like there's a misinterpretation of how long that's actually going to take.
Yeah, I think that's a really good observation. Both that feeling of having to prove yourself,
Mm-hmm.
like if you just work hard enough, if you just do the right things, that'll automatically happen. Yeah, I think that's definitely something that was emphasized in school, and also, um, oh yeah, I don't know, I agree with you. I just I was gonna point something else out, and then I lost my track of thought, but yeah, I think it's really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
The difference. Oh, it was what you were saying about the difference between being taught a thing
Mm-hmm.
and doing something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a big difference. It's surprising how big that difference is about how when you're in that school situation, it seems so much quicker. But
Mm-hmm.
when you're on your own, doing it yourself, it just takes so much. I wonder
Yeah.
why that's
Yeah.
interesting.
I think. I mean, I don't want to say it has to do with age because I feel like it's definitely a common experience coming out of school, regardless of what your age is. Because it's like even between the two of us, we have our age gap, and then I have the age gap with like other recent or students that graduated recently, and it's like we're all experiencing the same thing in terms of like what our expectations were. Obviously, we experience them a bit differently because of our personal experiences, but that's kind of on top of that. Um, but yeah, I think I don't know if it has to do with that like residual energy of like going so hard while you're in school, and that I feel like I might have mentioned this kind of like analogy before where you're that kind of like cartoon where you're just like running so fast and you don't realize that you've already run off the cliff and you're kind of dangling in midair still running.
Oh yeah.
Like
Yep.
I don't know if it's still that like residual energy of like, but I need to work really hard and I need to try to do this thing and prove myself to someone even though I don't know who. And you're kind of like running around trying to find stuff, which, I mean, isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I think it's important to be aware of that energy and to learn to channel it to like look for the right resources and the right avenues to kind of like go down to find the right people instead of just being kind of going up to like the first person you find, you know?
Yes, exactly. Like trying to find the route that works for you, or the path that works for you, and the context that works for you. Boy, that's a complicated thing.
Yeah, it really is.
And something that can change over time.
Yeah.
Sorry, I interrupted you.
Go ahead. No, you're fine. Like I was, I think, in the middle of agreeing with you. We were both like being agreeable with each other.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed.
But yeah, it's
I think.
uh-huh.
Yeah. Oh no, go.
So I just want to I guess like reiterate, like I think it's important to be aware of that energy and really, I think, learn how to organize yourself. Like if you're still in school, please learn how to do that, because you're going to be expected to just know how to organize your own energy once you're out, because you're the one taking care of yourself, you're the one managing it on your own.
Yep, you're the momentum for the whole thing. Yep. That's important.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I expected the weight of that, the weight of having your own momentum and having your drive to push your whole, not only your arts practice and your projects, but also your business. That you just wear a ton of hats. So yeah, understanding how to manage that and how to manage your energy, so that you can do that. Yeah, that's a big thing, and not a thing I think they talked very much about in school, and it's hard to teach. It's hard to teach how that feels.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think especially
kind of intense.
yeah, like especially because of the like typical age range, or I guess more like the expected age range of college students. There's, I feel like, a mindset that's taken for granted the way a lot of us are when we're between the age of like 18 to 22. We're kind of like, okay, this person is just blah blah blahing in my ear about, you know, telling me I need to do this and that, but like I'm gonna do what I want to do, you know. And I mean, I know a lot of 18 to 22-year-olds might deny that, but you know it's true.
Yep.
I mean, I know I would have denied it at that age.
Yep. Me too.
Like, shut up, nuh-uh. But like, you totally think you're just like invincible and like impervious to the effects of the real world because you're in such a safe like college bubble. And I think a lot of teachers who are aware of that mentality, I wonder if they kind of accidentally or unintentionally maybe project or expect that mindset from just all students overall, regardless of the age. And that, I feel like that might have to do with kind of like the way they try to teach, or if it's just kind of like, okay, well, I know the majority of the students might be on track and might have some older students, but, you know, it's like, hopefully the older students know when I'm saying this, like, they know what I'm talking about, you know?
Right.
When they're trying to remind the younger students of, like, hey, you got to do things this way because trust me, I've been there. As an older student, you're maybe thinking like, yeah, I'm sure you have. I'm gonna write that down so I remember that, you know. And younger students
Right.
probably like, okay, whatever. Sure.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah, there's a difference for sure.
Yeah. But now I feel like I've gone on some weird like ages tangent, and I'm just like, I'm not even that old.
Well, but the thing is, I will say, I envy the energy of my 20s.
Mhm.
Because having that nonstop, invincible energy of being able to
Yeah.
and stay up late and just fight for it, I miss that. I
Yeah.
think that's actually an asset. A
Yeah.
lot of people who start out young have the benefit of that. I
Yes.
don't think it's a thing you can sustain forever, but
Nope.
I think it's a thing that can kind of push your career off when you're starting out, if
Yeah.
you're able to do it. Not everyone can, though.
Yeah. Yeah, like there's definitely different energy levels and like kind of like speeds and momentums for different people. And
Yeah.
I was gonna say too, I also envy the energy of my 20s, and I'm still in my 20s.
Well, there's that like particular moment, right? Like when
Yeah.
you're 18, 19, 20, 21, right?
Yeah.
College age, where you're just like, I have all the energy in the world.
Yeah, it's like you can just go, go, go. It's like
It's a beautiful thing.
it's so bizarre because like I'm like trying to live life, and I'm just like, just a few years ago I could, stay up all night trying to make a jacket out of duct tape in the freezing basement and
Right.
eat like 5 hot dogs.
Right?
And now I'm just like, oh no, sorry. I'll have maybe like half a hot dog and as big of a salad as you can find me, please. And I'm gonna go to bed at 9.
Right. Yeah.
Like
Things
also some
change.
antacid, please.
Yes, right? Like, yes. Also this.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Mm,
Yep. Things changed.
yeah.
Oh, but
Yeah.
regardless,
Yes.
so yes, it takes a long time to get this done. I mean, if you talk to a lot of people and observe people in the industry, I mean, I think you can see that it takes years.
Mhm.
You know, that
Yeah.
they mention it in school, but I don't think you really realize it until you get out that, oh yeah, the 5 years to maybe get on your feet, 10 years to really start making money. I think that's
Mhm.
accurate.
Yeah. Yeah. I
So
think it could be just a matter of like, hey teachers, remind them more. It's like every time you
yeah.
see them, remind them. It's gonna take a long time, and it's gonna be a treacherous journey, so be ready, because you're
Yeah.
gonna love it.
Yes. Yes. Get your armor.
Yeah.
Get your weapons.
I mean, that's
Right.
why you're in
Ready.
school getting that degree, to prepare yourself for that reality.
Yep.
And I think if at all possible, like to any students, whatever it is that you want to be doing afterwards, start doing it as soon as possible. If you're a freshman, start doing it.
Yep.
Like as soon as possible, because personally for me that was kind of like the momentum that kind of kept me afloat, that kept me still working on my art. And I mean, it's been just over a year. Like it hasn't even been 2 years yet since I graduated, but I mean, looking back, you can get a lot done in that amount of time, and it's just like you have to learn to manage your time very wisely. And
Mm-hmm.
as you're going through it, I mean, time becomes very nebulous. It's very like
Yes.
there's moments where it's gonna feel so slow, and then you're gonna look back and you're gonna be like, I thought it was still September. But
Yep.
it's not. It's December.
Yep.
It's real.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, it happens very fast. So
Yeah.
this seems like a good segue. We both did a lot this year,
Oh yeah.
and I thought this would be a good yearly episode to do where we talk about the things we wanted to do this year and what we did and what we learned and then our goals for next year, because I think I don't know, I love New Year's resolutions. I know a lot of people don't, but I really love it. I love taking the time to take stock and really kind of clean everything this my year and focus on what I want to change and what. So I thought this would be great to
Yeah.
to do New Year's resolutions.
Sure.
Or something like.
Yeah.
But I would also love to hear about all the things you did, Vickie.
Yeah.
It's been awesome watching you.
Oh. Well, same to you. I mean, it's been super cool not only watching like the stuff that you and Jess have made throughout the year, but watching so many of our peers from school and just people that I've known, you know, even in the last like 10 years, seeing them grow as artists has been really amazing.
Yeah. Yes.
And like it gives you a true understanding that like sure we might be in the same field, we might even go after some of the same jobs, but like it's not a competition. It's like we're all in this together because we're so different. We're all so different. And it's so cool to see how different everyone is.
It is really cool.
But yeah, in terms of what I've been working on, so let's see. I have my little 2017 folder out. And I have, so early in the year, one thing that stands out to me, I remember seeing a call for art for like a kids magazine called Rascal Mag. And I don't remember if they were looking for recipes specifically. I think they were just looking for art to put into like one of their issues. Unfortunately, like it never went to print because of some I think some personal stuff going on with the people printing it. But I submitted and I made this like really cool recipe thing that went along with a comic that I had made in 2016, and it wound up being this like extra sequential thing. And it's essentially a recipe to make like spicy peach and mango popsicles.
Oh, yum.
And I actually need to find out when I can share it publicly because it's been a couple months since I last been in touch with them. But I really want to publish it because I have so few pieces of like food illustration, and I really want to do more of it. And I just want to be like, hey, check this out. What else? Oh, this year I experimented a lot more with like trying to do online stuff, with like doing stuff on Twitch, doing stuff on Patreon, testing the waters, and I haven't quite kept up with it because like one of the things we talked about before, and I'll only mention it briefly, is that like marketing for those things is so hard.
Yeah.
Like I'm still trying to figure out, you know, it's like how am I gonna get traffic to my Patreon? You know, it's like what's the best way to try to sell it to people? Because part of me wants to just, you know, make a bunch of Dungeons and Dragons characters for people, and part of me is like, oh, but like I really like making things for teachers, you know, let me make some like stationery for your students and sticker sets and stuff.
Oh yeah.
And so like I'm still trying to figure out like what's going to be the best way to go about that. Another huge thing.
The fact that you even started a Patreon is awesome.
Oh,
because that's so daunting.
It is.
I mean, seriously, super daunting. So
I have one supporter.
A big step.
I have one patron. That's my friend Brian. Shout out to my friend Brian, who's also an artist.
Nice.
Um, I'll share his Patreon link somewhere, but he's an animator and like he totally knows the struggle. I think his son just turned a year old recently, and so like
Oh, wow.
he knows the struggle of like trying to balance work with artist fulfillment and taking care of your family,
Oh, yeah.
which is something that I haven't even come close to yet.
Yeah, that's so
Um,
hard.
yeah. I think the biggest thing that I definitely need to bring up is the fact that I got to be in a comics anthology. I think went really hard on comics this year than I did like the last 3-4 years, and I had felt so guilty because I had always been telling people like, yeah, I'm gonna do comics. I make my own comics, and I have all these like daily comics and diary comics and stuff, but they were all really old already, and I had not been making comics in the last 2-3 years. So it was
Hmm.
really exciting to get to make a comic for the Ladies' Night anthology that's run out of Graham Crackers in South Loop here in Chicago. And they're actually having their launch party this Friday for the volume that I'm in.
Oh, oh, really?
Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah, so anyone in Chicago, make sure you go to Graham Cracker's Comics in South Loop this Friday because that is going to be so fun. And I'm going to get to, like, hold the book and see my comic with all the other comics. It's going to be so good. I'm so excited.
Oh, yeah. That's so cool.
And also, I can show people whenever, if I ever, like, try to get into other comic publications, like, look, I did one.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I'm excited.
Yeah, that makes a big difference. Having it in your hands is the best.
Yeah.
It's the best feeling.
Yes.
So cool.
But yeah, I mean, there were a bunch of other little things. Like, there's a lot of like fun pieces. I was making a lot of Critical Role fan art. As the
Understandable.
as the token fan artist of the podcast.
But you got featured a couple,
Yes. Yeah.
which is awesome.
Yeah. A couple of my pieces got featured, which was super fun. And it's always fun to see like your favorite celebrities like see your work and they're like, oh, that's so nice. And I'm just like, thank you so much. You like me, you really like me.
That's gotta be an awesome feeling.
It is. What else have I got? I have been participating in a lot of galleries with a local toy store that sells like vintage toys called Toy du Jour. As I say in my American accent. They have been doing like themed shows. The first one that I participated in was in May called Ladies of the
Yeah.
80s. And even though I'm not an 80s baby, I still enjoy some of the media. So I drew I didn't draw, I painted an Ellen Ripley portrait from the Alien franchise
Nice.
with the Queen in the background. And I mean, the piece didn't really sell, but it was a step back to traditional work that I hadn't done in a while, so I'm happy with it, even if it wasn't popular.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all that matters, really.
Yeah. And then I participated in a couple of their other shows. They did a Cats of Pop Culture, to which I submitted a Meowth from Pokemon pattern. And
Nice.
then I also recently submitted to their Rebel show, which is inspired by Star Wars and the Rebel Alliance. I submitted
Nice.
a Jyn Erso digital painting and some prints with that. So anyone that's near, I think like the Wicker Park area, go check out Toy du Jour. But yeah,
I'm sorry. Which gallery is that?
it's called toy du jour. They are a teeny tiny vintage toy store. They have everything that you remember from your childhood. They have stuff that I remember seeing from the 90s as a kid. They have like Polly Pockets, which I was obsessed with and stabbed my feet with many times.
Oh no.
They were basically like the Legos marketed to girls. But I definitely had Legos too and stepped on those.
Oh yeah.
And then yeah, like they have everything. They recently, their last show, which I did not get a chance to participate in, was their first licensed show, which was a Voltron themed show. And you'll definitely find like Voltron figures, you can find Aliens figures, like any horribly made action figure you remember holding in your hands as a child and thinking was amazing is probably in that store. And it's in just like the tiniest space, and it's so cool. It's really awesome.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah. Like, you can barely move in there, but just looking at everything is so cool.
Yeah. That's a cool space to have an art show.
For sure.
That's really
cool. But yeah, so I think that's a lot of like the biggest things that I did this past year. Like, there were definitely some competitions that I submitted to, that I made some more polished pieces that I definitely got like a good amount of practice from. But I think the thing that stands out the most to me is being a part of that comics anthology, because that was a big step for me as someone that is always telling people that I make comics. And look, I made comics.
That's awesome.
How
It'll be fun
about
to
you?
watch you release that too, as you released the comic.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't it during October?
Oh, so I did do another comic, yeah, during Inktober.
I thought it was the same. I was wrong.
No, yeah, it's a different comic, and I kind of wound up making them almost back to back. The one for the Ladies' Night anthology, I finished in almost September, I think, and I was very scared that I was not going to finish in time. Like, I was stressing so bad. And as soon as I finished it, I'm like, well, October's coming along, and I don't want to not do Inktober. And then I decided, like an insane person, to do another comic. And I was like, I'll do a page a day. But I did it. And
you did.
I survived. And now that comic...
It was awesome.
Thank you. That comic is it's on sale at different... it's at a couple of different shops. It's at Shop Columbia. It's at a holiday pop-up shop, which I will share links to on my Facebook page. I'll mention those later. And it'll be at PocketCon, which I'll be tabling at this Saturday, the 16th. Whatever, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's Saturday.
Nice.
But yeah, so, yeah, like, the fact that I made 2 comics this year is definitely a big deal for me.
So awesome.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that those are my highlights. I want to hear about your big achievements, Sonnett.
Those are those are all really awesome.
Thank you.
So cool. I can't imagine doing a page a day of comics during Inktober.
Yeah.
That's just I'm impressed.
I mean, I definitely cheated and just did like single panels, but I'm just like, it's okay, it counts.
Still, it's a lot.
It is a lot.
It's awesome. I'm pretty happy because I set some very specific goals this year, and I feel like I met the ones that were most important. There are a few I wish I had been able to finish. I really wanted to finish my all experience project, but talk about this more in what we learned. But I learned a lot about why that wasn't going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Fair.
But even so, I ended up making 8 paintings,
Yeah.
which I'm pretty happy about. And I also finished all the ink drawings for the project.
Amazing.
So that was exciting. And um so I'm excited because this project has been going on for about 2 years, and I'm ready to wrap it up. I'm ready to move on to a new thing. So I really wanted to kind of get close to being done with it,
Mm-hmm.
and also wanted to do a Kickstarter. I had some people asking about coloring books, and so at the beginning of the year, I was planning on if I could get it done, I
Mm-hmm.
would do a Kickstarter,
Yeah.
do my first Kickstarter. So I did it, and I spent a lot of time. I spent probably at least 3 months, if not 4 months, prepping,
Mm-hmm.
researching, um, doing graphics, getting feedback on graphics, doing a bunch of different stuff, doing product, doing budget. Oh man, they don't tell you how much goes into it.
Nope.
So much.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I was worried it wasn't even going to be enough time with that. So I was stressing right before it came out, but it all paid and to double the amount that I asked for. So
Awesome.
it was amazing.
That's so good. I'm so happy for you.
And I've been so impressed with just the community. I've really, I don't know. I wasn't expecting it to feel so as good as it felt in
Yeah.
terms of just feeling really lucky
Mm-hmm.
um, with the art community, with my friends, with my family, and just kind of everyone who and even the contributors, even the people, everybody really who
Yeah.
helped either sharing or contributing money. It just felt so cool. It felt so
Mm-hmm.
cool to be part of something that's built with a bunch of people,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
Because I think so often we sit here and we're working alone,
Yeah.
and to be able to be part of something that's a group, it, I don't know, it felt really so. That was really cool,
Yeah. Like
and I was super. Oh no, go.
well, I was just uh I want to say like it's so neat to be able to experience that because you experience the power of community and how much it
Yeah,
works.
yeah, it's amazing. It's really quite cool and humbling.
Yeah.
I was amazed, and I was anal retentive enough that I was able to get all of my stuff out early, and I didn't go over budget at all. So I was really grateful. I was grateful for uh, all the planning because I think
Yeah.
that helped a lot.
Oh yeah.
So that actually was probably the thing that went this year out of everything. So that was one of the biggest goals. And then other than that, uh, I wanted to up my social media, and
Mm-hmm.
so I definitely I joined a pod on Instagram and focused on trying to beat the algorithm with that, and also make friends and community
Nice.
in the art community with that.
Nice.
I learned a lot about posting on Instagram and how that works, and really enjoyed bringing other people on. That's always really but also kind of started to understand how photographing for Instagram works,
Mm-hmm.
uh, kind of how you need to lay things out. I started to curate my Instagram more so that it's um, a little more finished work, a little more polished work, and that seemed. I also kind of started to figure out how to photograph product.
Mm.
Um, and that led into me trying to revamp my store on my web and also start to think about how I want to do that going forward.
Yeah.
So that was a big thing. And and we started the podcast.
Yeah.
Which is great because I wanted
Yeah.
to get over my nervousness about streaming and wanted to hang out with my friends and talk about art. So that was a huge thing.
Oh yeah.
And this was the first year I did full-time. Terrifying.
Mhm.
It's super scary.
I'm sure.
But this year has been amazing also because I didn't think it was possible. In January, I was like, I don't know if this is gonna work.
Mhm.
Um, a great proof of concept, and I ended up making more this year than I made ever. And I mean, that's not a lot. It's not a lot, but it's just it was enough to say, okay, this is the thing that can happen.
Mhm.
This is the thing that's possible. Um, so that was kind of amazing. I had my first professional commission. I had done work for friends before, but I had my first professional
Mhm.
and did a movie promo images for Camilla Vive.
Awesome.
And that was so fun. I
That's
loved
so
it. I had a
cool.
great time. I got to paint vampires, so I was happy.
Awesome.
Get out of my comfort zone a bit.
Yeah.
What else? I went to a LuxCon, and
yeah.
that was terrifying. This has been a very scary year.
Yeah.
But it's also been like super rewarding. So, yeah, so that was my first professional artist conference. Went by myself and
Mm.
met some amazing people, got great critique, ones that'll really help my art a lot. So that was incredible. And just a lot of inspiration. It was wonderful to walk through that and just have wall to wall fantasy art.
Yeah.
It was like being in Wonderland. It was kind of amazing. That was cool. Uh, Other than that, I've just been working really hard on improving my art. I do 5 days a week, an hour, at least an hour, sometimes an hour and a half. Focused sketches. I give myself something to work. Like I'll do 15 minutes anatomy, 15 minutes animals, and then usually about 30 to 45 minutes color because I love color so much.
Awesome.
So like color mixing and color studies. And then I mix it up every month to do something new. But yeah, that's been helping a lot. Both drawing and painting to get both going, to get better at those. And yeah, it's been a busy year.
That's so awesome. And I think the most impressive thing to me, and I've seen you do it, and I've seen some other artists do it. Another person that comes to mind is another illustrator from Colombia, Vincent Powell. Just seeing the way you guys are so disciplined with like practice, whether it's like, oh, I'm gonna do animals, or I'm gonna work on this thing or this thing. Like he did this. I mean, granted, while it was like scattered, I think across maybe more than a year, but he had done like 100 days of perspective to practice his perspective and get better at it. And
Mm-hmm.
like I mean he finished it eventually, and it's like with something like that I would have stopped at like day 25 maybe if I even would have gotten that far.
Right.
Because it's like they're such a huge undertaking, and it's just like personally for me just getting through Inktober actually doing comics was a huge like hurdle, but like seeing people do those exercises on a daily basis, like I try to make myself do it. I mean, and it's not that I don't draw every day, but I don't have that daily discipline of like I want to try to like fill a page with, just like,
Mm-hmm.
hand sketches or sketching feet or faces, or I'm going to practice some animals, which I really need to do. Um, Like, I
I know
don't.
I have a long way to go on animals too.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
that fox needs some work.
Yeah. I don't do those things nearly as much as I know that I need to. And especially with things like environment and animals in particular, creatures, it's something that I really want to improve on. And um, it just blows me away when I see the dedication in other artists, and I'm just like, I know I'm doing a lot, but like I feel like I'm not as disciplined as I want to be, and I just like really admire artists like you, Sonnett, that have done that have kind of like honed that practice and that discipline. I'm just like, I need to get there. I need to do those crunches.
It is. That's honestly though, I do it with a timer though, so I will stay focused
Mhm.
because otherwise I'd be like, nah. If I keep it into small chunks, like I do 5 really small, like 1 inch drawings on a small
Mhm.
sketchbook page, and I make sure I do like only 3 minutes per,
Mm.
and then I'll do it like a bigger one every 2 weeks where I do a full 15 minutes on the drawing. But if I
Okay.
keep it small, if I keep it to 3 minute chunks, and don't get caught up in perfection,
Yeah.
then I find I get it done. But that's me though, and
Right.
everyone works differently. It's like
Yeah.
you have to trick your brain into doing it in a way that's doable, and enjoyable
Yeah.
as much as possible.
Yeah.
So,
And it's funny because like I do love using the timers, but I think one thing that I've realized is that one of the few times that I do like socializing is when I'm making art, because I love being able to look at other people's art and being like, okay, this is what I came up with in 10 minutes. What did you come up with in 10 minutes? And I love
oh
sharing that.
yeah. So you need that social environment.
I think so, which is just odd for me because for the most part I'm very introverted, except when it comes to art.
Not as much.
Yeah, like with the art, apparently I like to socialize. It's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's just a matter of finding that, whether it's
Yeah.
like doing Twitch streams or drinking draws or
Mhm.
whatever you need.
Yeah. So we talked about what we did, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what
Mm-hmm.
did we want to share in terms of, I guess, the future or further reflection of the year?
Well, I'd be interested if there's anything in particular that stood out to you over the year, something you learned it, doing all these things
Mhm.
that you felt was important, an
I
important.
mhm. I think probably my most important lesson of the year, and this honestly does go back to our beginning topic in terms of
Mhm.
expectations, is that I I think the biggest thing I learned was the speed that I work at and like the pace that I'm going at, and understanding that like it's not a linear thing, the path that like we're on. Like it's not just, oh, go down this road. It's, hey, let's try this and let's try this other thing. Let's see what works. And there's nothing wrong with taking a step back or going back a little and kind of like reconvening and saying, okay, well, we tried that. That was a bit of a challenge, but we can try this other thing now where we can put that on the side and keep going, you know? And there's very much an expectation of like, oh, once you start doing something, you have to finish because otherwise, you're not doing it right. But it's just like, no, it's like you can do a lot of things.
Yes,
Um,
definitely.
yeah, I think. learning what my own work pace was, I think, was a really big thing for me. And then, um,
Having your own workspace?
or or how like what pace that I work at.
Hmm.
Just sort of like understanding my strengths a little more than I did before, and like the challenges that I deal with, and like understanding those a little more than I did before.
Nice.
Um, and then also learning that I can actually make a comic.
Yeah. That's an awesome thing.
Yeah, very much. Um, oh, and then so I would also say um, also acknowledging things that some teachers have told me while I was in school, who definitely saw this in me, and I know I was fighting it after graduating. But people telling me, like you're gonna make an awesome art director, like you're an organizing person. And
Hmm.
lo and behold, I know I didn't mention this earlier, but I am curating an art show.
That's
And
awesome.
or I should say co-curating with two other artists, but it's like I keep finding myself in a position where I'm trying to like organize other artists to lift up their work and to try to share their work. And I'm just like, yeah, I'm gonna make my own stuff and try to do this, but let me do this thing, this community thing, and let's get a bunch of people
Nice.
in and let's all do this thing. And it's like no matter how much I deny it or try to fight it, I keep somehow putting myself in that position and almost begrudgingly enjoy it.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. You're good at it though, Vickie.
Thank you. Thank you. I guess I have to be proud of it at this point, right?
Yeah. You gotta do.
Yeah.
That's cool though. Those are all.
Uh, sorry, I did not hear the very last thing you said.
Okay.
You like cut
Um,
off just the slightest bit. But yeah, if there was anything else that you wanted to add, in terms of what you learned, um,
yeah.
do we want to talk
Um,
about goals?
yeah. I'll talk quickly about it because we're kind of running out of
Yeah.
time. Because I feel like we could talk about a lot of it for a long
Mm-hmm.
time. Um, I definitely agree with you. Like, I feel like I learned a lot of the same uh, about being okay with it, just with trying things. And I love what you said about that expectation about finishing a thing,
Mm-hmm.
going down that road, and then realizing, oh no, this isn't the right. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah, that's really important. And other than that, I think the big thing was learning to communicate, learning that I needed to stop being so afraid of marketing my art.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, don't be afraid to ask. Don't be afraid to say that something is for sale because people just don't know. They just don't know that what you're making is also for. And so I realized it was really important to say that and say it a lot. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
really comfortable doing it. It's something that was important to learn.
Yeah.
And also, I think uh, it's really important to live a life.
Yes.
Because I was so worried that I wouldn't be able to get the coloring book to the right people, that I didn't have an audience
Mm-hmm.
that would like my coloring book. And surprisingly enough, I did. And that came from working at the Renaissance Fair and having
Awesome.
Renaissance Fair friends share it with their friends and family and their audience, and those are the people that liked my book, and those are the people that wanted to buy my book. And that just came from living a life,
Yeah.
having done a lot of things in my life, and same with learning how to budget. A Kickstarter came from working in accounting. So I think sometimes it's easy to get very narrow focused and say, okay, just art all the time, art, everything.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there's actually a lot of benefit from going out there and doing other things, whether it's D&D or just the friends that you have, or maybe you do theater, or maybe you sing, or maybe you cook. Whatever you like to do, whatever you're passionate about, or maybe you did in your childhood or high school, or whatever. I think all those things really inform your art and your career in surprising ways. And that was a huge lesson.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I'm grateful for that.
Yeah. I think that's definitely important, especially that piece about just your community, regardless of what it is.
Yes.
When you participate and when you're sincere about how you care about that community, they will support you. They will be the ones to support you in the future when you need it. When you show them that support, when you show them that you're just interested in spending time with them, that you care about them, they'll support you.
Yep. Yep. It's important.
Yeah, very much.
Yeah. So yeah. So and that's a goal I want to work on, honestly. Now we'll segue into goals.
Mhm.
I'm terrible at going out because I'm so introverted.
Mhm.
But I definitely want to do more of that in terms of finding more of the local Chicago community,
Mhm.
especially fantasy art. And I think that's harder to find it.
Mhm.
In general, I think I'd like to attend more community events and try to be more involved than I have been.
For sure.
So we'll see how that goes. Because most of the time I'm just like, nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah. How about you? What are your goals?
I think very similar to what you mentioned right now, in terms of de- definitely trying to get more involved with like the local community, and it's something that I think I'm starting to do again now with the current holiday market that I'm participating in. Um,
Mm-hmm.
because aside from art, I think the biggest like hobby that occupies my life at at the moment is D&D, and I always try to find a way to connect the two because they're like the groups of friends that I have. I feel like I've spent the last 2 years just trying to merge them together, and I love the
Oh
idea
yeah.
of like, hey, I know a bunch of people that play D&D. You guys love fantasy art. I know a bunch of artists, you know? It's like
Right.
it's like you could potentially hire them to make awesome art just for you.
Right? It's true. It's true.
Yeah. And so definitely finding that community and getting more involved is something that I do want to do. Um, Getting better about marketing is something that I really want to do. Just kind of like even some of the stuff that you mentioned about the things that you learned about like posting on Instagram and kind of refining that a bit more. That's the kind of thing I really need to look into. Um, Also, investing in things that are going to be beneficial because I think being a young person, as in someone who's not retired, uh, currently, it's very scary
Mm-hmm.
to invest in something that would potentially benefit you, because it's so scary to just put so much into something that you don't know if it's going to work out. Because things
Yes.
are so fragile right now and so volatile.
Right.
And you're like, I mean, even putting thousands and thousands of dollars into your education, and so many of us are like, okay, I just put a lot of money into that. Now I'm going to owe a lot of money in loans. So
Right.
what can I do to, create value for all that time I spent, all that money I put into this education? And one thing that's kind of like a big scary thing, but also a very exciting thing, is that I'm actually going to GDC in the spring.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, which I never thought I would, because I'm just like, oh, but I'm not in games. But my husband is in games, and it's just something that's important for him. And I mean, I've definitely thought about exploring game art, and I'm just like, why not start taking advantage of these opportunities that are clearly presenting themselves to me, It's like, this is an opportunity to explore more. And so that's probably another thing that I'm going to try to do in terms of my goals. I do want to try to get more involved in game art. And this is one of the reasons I was really sad that Jess wasn't on here, because I wanted to talk to her in terms of kind of like, just like, hey, how about some pro tips about, getting started, But I'm still very excited, just that I'm even gonna take a trip out of town, because that's something rare that I never get to do. And we're like, okay, it's gonna cost us a lot of money, because we decided, we're gonna stay there for the whole week. And we're like, we gotta save up all this money that we know we're gonna spend on just that week. I'm trying to get passes, other expenses, travel, hotel, so on. And it's like, yeah, it's going to cost a lot, but the experience of being there is going to be so valuable, and we have to like really take advantage of it as a resource and make it valuable for us.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's probably another big goal, is that I want to, I guess, be more bold about investing my time and money into things that I know can be beneficial to me, and really appreciating those resources, because it's a very scary thing to do, and I encourage people to do that. I know one thing that my husband was told is that it's like, often it's going to be worth putting yourself in debt for something that's going to benefit you in the long term. Especially with things like school, because, I mean, yes, it is a ridiculous amount of money, but like, we got so much out of it, like with the people that we know, the experiences that we got from it, they are so valuable.
Yes. Yep.
Also, make more comics.
Yeah! Yay!
Had to squeeze that in there.
Do it.
Yeah, I'm already writing a script for a new comic that I'm very excited about.
Oh, excellent. I'm excited.
Me too.
I'm excited to watch it happen.
Yep. Me too.
Well, those are very good goals. I just have a few more. Unless, did you have more?
No, please go ahead.
I'm just going to quickly.
Yeah, do it.
So, yes, community is a big thing. I want to start sending out postcards to publish. Yes, and try to start a cadence on that so that I get used to sending them out on a regular. I want to start my new personal project and finish up Quaint Spirits, which is the last one.
Yay!
And maybe see if I can find some local cons to do, local art shows, local local stuff. I'm looking definitely for local stuff this year.
Yes.
Maybe do a gallery show. So I'm like, you're doing a gallery show.
Same though.
So maybe do a fantasy themed gallery show. We will see on that one.
You can do it.
I think it'd be really fun and cool. And Jess and I have talked a little bit about it. So we will see. Oh, yes. Also I want to build up my inventory for both shows, for cons and shows, and continue to improve my online shop and social media presence.
Yeah.
We got this, Vickie.
Yes.
We're going to do it. These are all good things.
Yes. It's going to be a good year because we make it one.
Yeah. It'll be good.
At the very least, on a micro scale, if we can do something good for ourselves and within our community, it'll make it all worth it.
That's right. So this has been really cool.
Yes. I agree.
So much, all that we've done.
Yes. All of it.
When you say it all, it seems like way more.
Yeah. Like, I didn't think I was going to take up so much time talking about the stuff I did. I was like, oh my.
No. Me neither. So, that's pretty cool. So we should wrap up. And you've been listening to Through Dangers Untold. And our logo was created by Karen Hodo. And you can find her online at kmhododesigns.com. And you can find Vickie at...
You can find me anywhere on the internet at Vixtifer on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook.com/Vixtifer, and keep an eye out because I am participating in so much right now. If you're a local in Chicago, make sure you stop by PocketCon this Saturday. Throughout all of December, I am hosting D&D nights, open tabletop nights, at the former Cafe Chien on the north side in Albany Park. Details on my Facebook.
Awesome. And you can find me at SonnettShelline.com and also on Instagram and Twitter, Facebook, and Tumblr, just Sonnett Shelline. And please join us for our next discussion on January 2018. We will be talking about financial survival.
Ooh.
Yeah, January finances.
So fun.
So that'll be fun.
Yay.
But thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening, and
have a Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Yay.